Hello everyone, welcome to the EGX Rezzed developer stage again. I'm Catherine Castle from Rock Paper Shotgun, and for the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to have Chris Thursten and Sean McCafferty talk about Hytale. Take it away, guys.
Hi everyone, as Catherine said, I'm Chris Thursten from Hypixel Studios, and joining me Sean McCafferty, content lead for Hytale. So today we're going to talk a bit about how Hypixel Studios grew out of the Minecraft modding scene and how our first game, Hytale, came to be. Sean's going to tell most of that story. I'm going to be clicking the slides. Before we get to that, however, we're aware that a few of you might not know who we are, so we're going to give you a bit of context. Hypixel has been around in one form or another for about 8 years. But back in December, we announced the formation of a dedicated indie game development studio, Hypixel Studios, along with the reveal of our first game, Hytale. So for those who haven't seen it, here is the reveal trailer, and for those who have, please pretend to look surprised. Thank you very much.
And there you go. Revealing Hytale was a huge moment for us because by the time the trailer came out, the game had actually been in development and under wraps and in complete secrecy for over 3 years. We'd hoped for a good reaction, obviously, but we had no idea what to expect. I remember the day before the trailer came out, I was actually taking bets on how many views you would get in the first week. 10K, 20K, 30K. I rolled in and said, 200K, go big or go home. No, in the end, we were blown away. We got more than 11 million views on our trailer in the first week. And now we have just passed 47 million views.
This morning, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrifying. We've been told that apparently this puts us in the top 10 game trailers on YouTube ever. It's, the amount of attention is incredible, and at the same time incredibly intimidating. The biggest thing for us, however, was how positive the response has been. We've managed to maintain a 98% positive likes to dislikes ratio, which is just absolutely incredible since the announcement. After taking this step from being a mod team to being an indie dev team, it's amazing and it's gratifying and it's a certain amount of validation that people like what we're doing. But what is this thing? What is Hytale? There are a lot of different aspects to Hytale, but in broad terms, the project breaks down into 3 pillars. First, the adventure mode. You've just seen the trailer, okay? So what we're talking about is a sandbox fantasy role-playing experience that takes place in a huge block-based and procedurally generated world. So you can expect the usual sort of things like combat, crafting, there's a story at its roots, there are dungeons, boss battles, and of course the almighty loot. Then we have mini games. Now this is kind of Hypixel's bread and butter, but we'll get to that. These are multiplayer experiences, a mix of cooperative and competitive. That feature lots of little different features and mechanics. And finally, we have our creative tools. This spans everything from free-form building with blocks to creating machinima using in-game cinematic tools, scripting, creating and importing new assets and animations, and a lot more besides. It's been a journey to get here. I had lots more hair when we first started. And, to get to this point, particularly as a team that really did cut its teeth as a modder team. Today we're going to talk a wee bit about how each part of that journey happened, give you a look at early versions of Hytale, and explain how our origins helped inform the game that we've subsequently gone on to make. So, Hytale starts with Hypixel. And Hypixel starts with our founders, Simon and Rezzed, who I know are watching now. Hello, boys. They got their start building maps for Minecraft, using redstone and command blocks to create adventure maps, these bespoke adventure experiences. The biggest problem facing map creators in those days was getting their work in front of people. A few early Minecraft maps went viral. It was tough for modders to find an audience. And it wasn't always easy for players to find games or people to play them with. The problem was that sharing maps and then getting them into Minecraft and allowing other players to join that experience wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. The solution to the problem was the creation of a server, and within that server, a lobby that allowed players to meet up and connect to play games and each other. This meant the players didn't have to mess around with downloads or folders or port forwarding or any of that. You just typed in a URL and away you went. In a sense, lobbies are no different from any other kind of modded Minecraft experience. They're maps that you connect to, that use scripts, and other additions to deliver something that the base game usually doesn't do. The thing is, the first adventure maps were popular. They were too popular. That led to the next problem. People waiting around for those 4 to 8 player experiences with nothing to do. So the guys came up with an idea. These little bite-sized games that you could play while waiting for their friends to come online and the adventure maps to free up. The first of these was Paintball. Very soon, it became very clear that these little nuggets of gameplay were becoming far more popular than the adventure maps that had started this whole thing. So people flocked to the new Hypixel server. Bigger audiences meant more demand for new games, which meant bringing more people in terms of builders and minigame creators to add different experiences to the server. Hypixel steadily grew from just Simon and Rezzed into a full team of modders. The server didn't turn out to be just a tool for helping people find minigames, however. It was a platform in its own right, a layer on top of the base game that itself could be built out in many different directions. The same systems that allowed us to use a lobby to connect players to minigames allowed us to implement progression systems, loot, daily and weekly quests, and other mechanics that have more in common with a commercial live game service than they do with traditional modding, including, crucially, monetization, which in turn allowed Hypixel to become a business. As the demands of the Minecraft server grew, we came to need people with broad-ranging expertise in areas like server tech, art, and game production. The team grew into a company, modding became a full-time job. We started to bring in people with more game development experience and background. Despite this growth, the pattern of development that had been established with the very early stages of Hypixel remained the same. We identify a problem, we solve it. Then identify the next problem and try to solve that. Our understanding of the platform meant that we could build and iterate upon new games and server ideas really quickly, which reinforced this way of working. I'll give you one example of this. One of our most popular games was a game called Skywars. It's one of our first games that went really viral, where you had tens of thousands of people playing it at the same time. That game, from its inception to its delivery to our community, was 9 days. You know? So we had this really, really fast turnaround. Right. Over time, however, it steadily became clear we weren't necessarily the masters of our own destiny. As Minecraft modders, we could bring and adapt the base game, but there were limits to how much we could change in many different regards, from game mechanics to client and server issues to operating our business. We became increasingly aware that we were building our house on somebody else's land. In 2014, Mojang made changes to Minecraft's end-user licensing agreement and placed restrictions on the way independent Minecraft servers like ourselves could make money. It was necessary for us to change and make changes in order to keep operating, to survive, basically. But even so, and even though we got behind that, we saw an 85% drop in our revenue. The thing is, however, what Mojang did was right. It was entirely within their rights to make these changes, and although there were a few snags along the way, ultimately it was all about keeping in mind the players' interests. The Minecraft EULA changes had the effect of making us grow up as a company. We realized that we needed to seek out people who could help us go pro, right? To evolve from a mod team into a live game service developer. So, in the years that followed, Hypixel just kept getting bigger and bigger. We even picked up a couple of Guinness World Records. We've become not only the most popular Minecraft server network, but also the most popular independent server for any video game. Modding had become our livelihood, so we felt the risks associated with our dependency on the base game very acutely. Even so, it's not an unusual situation for a game developer to find themselves in. Many game projects are dependent on structures and tech provided by other companies, whether it's an engine, a set of tools, middleware, marketing or distribution, and changes or disruptions to these can be terrifying, scary, can be even terminal. As professional modders, we're perhaps more vulnerable than most. But in a sense, this just made us sensitive to a set of risks that a lot of other game devs have to navigate anyway. But we needed to safeguard our future. And in the process of building a team to support the Minecraft server, we ended up with a lot of young, talented people. So, about 3 years ago, a group of Hypixel developers split off and formed what would ultimately become Hypixel Studios. They were tasked with figuring out how we were going to make the leap from professional mod team to indie developer. I remember this so well. It wasn't immediately obvious what kind of game we should focus on creating. We built tools, loads of minigames for the Hypixel server, and many of them have could form the basis of a really good standalone title. We talked about doing puzzle games, adventure games, even shooters. Like I'm from a first-person shooter background myself. Eventually, however, it became clear that we needed to play to our strengths. As the mod team had grown, a lot of expertise we'd picked up was technical in nature. In order to support the Hypixel server, we had to get good at server infrastructure, chunk rendering, other technical disciplines that were very specific to block games. And that in itself was rapidly becoming a genre in its own right. Production on Hytale really got started when we realized we had the opportunity to use all of our modding experience to solve the problems that we hadn't been able to address while working as modders. Common to a lot of these issues was the fact that while we could create maps, write scripts, and set up servers, we had never been able to change the game client. As we began to consider this idea, it became apparent that in order to achieve everything we wanted to achieve, we needed to be able to control every aspect of the client. Initially, we experimented with a few options in terms of engines and technology. Eventually, however, we realized that we needed to write our own game engine from scratch, designed to meet the needs of a block game, which was fun. Although our goal was to work towards a familiar experience, the Hytale team started over from first principles in order to give ourselves maximum control. This is a huge change for our mod team, but in a sense, we were in the position to do so because we put together, whether we knew it or not, over the years, a detailed specification of our ideal platform. The initial years after Hytale's development were dedicated to engine and tool creation. We invested a lot of effort in getting back to square one, essentially in order to make sure that we would ultimately be building a game that was as future-proof as possible. So here's a look at where that work initially got us. Our initial exploratory work helped us get up to speed with our new engine fairly quickly. This shot shows a very early version of Hytale using all of our own tech. There was a lot to do from that point, obviously, in many fields. So we're going to show you how things started to come together using screenshots from various points in Hytale's development. Please bear in mind that these shots are pretty old and are not representative of the final game at all. So we have three artists, Thomas, Paulina, and Connor. Hello. And our artists started to establish the visual identity for Hytale. You see from that concept sketch there, which includes everything from character designs and guidelines for world generation. Each of our zones has different rules when it comes to world gen. Like each zone in the game, each of the 6 zones are wildly different. And those rules apply to topography or underground geography, water, creatures, plant life, the placement of prefabs and point of interest that you may have seen on one of our blog posts, like ruins and forts. World generation in particular became an area of interest. Hytale is divided, as I said, into zones. And each zone is divided into biomes. And we experimented with a lot of ways to create interesting and dynamic environments at the points where the biomes intersected. This is an early look at World Gen in Zone 1. At the same time, we worked on detail, like kind of all the fluff around us. So the World Generation takes care of the topography and the things you can see and do, but that still had to be filled with more life. So at the same time, we worked on the detail. Plants and animals, materials, custom models, and so on, expanding the capabilities of the engine itself in order to include the creative flourishes that we wanted to see. So in this screenshot, you see Zone 1 a little further along. There's a lot more going on, and we're starting to see the benefits of all that additional work. But one of the challenges we faced when we began to work on the game was to remember that ultimately we held the keys to the castle, the keys to every aspect of the engine. We were so used to modding inside that tightly controlled box that it was easy sometimes to forget that we had the power to change everything that we wanted to change, add everything that we wanted to add. When you're used to working within such constraints, it can be a challenge to break out of that mindset. There's an example of that. Actually, during the development, I actually approached the guys from the Hypixel server, the Minecraft guys, and asked them, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to take or ask for anything that you want in terms of development and features of this engine, so let me know. And over the course of a couple of days, I gathered some data. And when I actually read through it, it was all stuff that they'd already created as part of the Hypixel server or already existed in Minecraft itself. So I actually had to go back and tell them, guys, you can have anything that you want, you know? They were just locked in that mindset. They got there, though. This is another screenshot of Zone 1, this time a lot more recent. This one's from about a year ago. Here you can see the render improvements, the particle effects, creatures, tinted blocks, and a more evocative skybox. Thank you for that word, Chris. That was awesome. These are all the ways we've challenged ourselves to break out of that modding mindset and take advantage of the opportunities that an original engine provides. Here's Zone 2. This is a process that we've repeated across Hytale's various zones. Here's an example of World 2, or Zone 2. World Gen coming together, creating a really different rocky landscape that's in complete contrast to Zone 1. And another example of how our work in the ring has helped us create another distinct kind of environment, this time a forest in Zone 3. I love this. We focused a lot on World Gen so far because it's fairly easy to demonstrate visually. But the work was much broader than this. Here's an early shot of functional networking, which is really important for us because it gave our team an opportunity to be absolute weirdos, as well as developing some service-based stuff. More importantly, it meant for a lot of our other work, particularly the evolving sophistication of the game world, that these things could be tested and iterated upon collaboratively. But apart from that, we are a remote team. We do not have an office. Right? There are people who work on this game that are as far east as New Zealand and as far west as California, and we don't have a central place to meet up. This was the closest thing we got to getting together and being face to face as we ever had before. Right. So we have people on the team with expertise in engine and tool development, including Elise and Bilu, the craft studio guys, who helped us build what was now called the Hytale Model Maker, an accessible 3D modeling and animation toolkit that we created specifically to help with the development of the game. All of this work on the engine and our tools has really paid off. Having the freedom to tinker with the game and experiment with new ideas has led to some surprising additions, like an in-game cinema where you can watch dog videos or cat videos. Our tools let us iterate quickly, which brings us kind of full circle back to the way we used to work as modders. We've held internal modeling jams to see how far we can push the engine and the tools. The years we spent laying the groundwork is now paying off for us. If we need to change something in our engine or tools, we have the power to do that. It's been a really tough, but really rewarding journey to go on as a team that is acutely aware of all the frustrations that we've had before. It's because of that awareness, in fact, that it became increasingly obvious to us we wanted to share these tools with our players. When we ship Hytale, we will also provide the Hytale Model Maker for free. You'll be able to write your own scripts in-game and use development menus that allow you to change the properties of the environments and the NPCs on the fly. Swapping out assets, loading new ones, changing gameplay mechanics, and so on.
So yeah, it's really this freedom, I think, to mod the game and to create your own stuff is what rounds out Hytale. And we think it's one of the reasons that we received that positive reaction back in December. And so since then, we've been able to plow ahead with production, obviously, but also try and be more open about our process and give people a bigger look at what's going on as we continue to develop the game. So we've used our blog to talk about things like block building, custom models and decor. This is stuff that every player will engage with, but it's particularly of interest to modders and opens up a lot of potential for them. We've talked about character creation, customization options, how we're able to offer not just different looks, but also a sort of thematic range of styles from traditional fantasy through modern fashion to cosplay, essentially, within the game. This week, we took the lid off behavior scripting, which is a modular system that allows us to construct interesting behaviors for creatures out of templates and common components, and ultimately, modders will, of course, be able to do the same. We've started to talk about how custom servers will work, how modders will ultimately be able to operate their own adventure or minigame theme parks and do that within Hytale. There is no reason for this slide. I like the pigeon.
The pigeon again, Chris, the pigeon.
I'll sit down now.
Yeah. We've been fortunate in many ways as mod teams go, and we want to pay that forward by making sure that Hytale modders have all the tools they need to build the kind of games they want to build. And we want to make modders out of regular players by ensuring that our tools are accessible, free, easy to use to import their own work into a game. We can imagine that a lot of players will be happy to quest, build settlements, play metagames, and engage in that way. But we also want to lay the roadmap that turns adventurers into builders, builders into minigame creators into modders and server operators, and modders and server operators into game developers. After all, that is what happened to us.
So yeah, that is, hang on, there's more, easy, Julia. That is the origin of Hytale, pretty much. We're going to show, we hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about how the game came to be, and we are going to spend the next 15 minutes or so answering questions. If you've got them, I know the microphone will come out very shortly. But before we get to that, which is why you shouldn't clap yet, we want to show you a little bit of what we were working on recently. So in this presentation and over the last couple of months, you've seen World Gen in Zone 1 and 2 in the kinds of environments and atmosphere it can create. So here is a look at Zone 3. Now you can clap. So the microphone stand is making its way to the front. If you have a question, please line up behind it and speak directly into the microphone.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
I'm too short for this microphone. So you guys are in this sort of fairly unusual position of knowing that pretty much as soon as you release this, you're releasing not just a game, but a platform that's going to have quite a large community. So you're going to be the kind of the masters of this ecosystem where lots of people are going to live. So I was curious kind of how you're thinking about approaching that, particularly since you guys actually built your initial business inside the Minecraft ecosystem, how you're thinking about approaching that now that you guys are going to be the sort of the masters of your own universe.
So are you really talking about what happens when somebody else makes their own server, or they try to monetize and things like that, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you guys are going to have this potentially huge community, a platform which people are going to be doing a lot of things with, which is a tremendous opportunity for you, as well as the people who are creating content within your world. So I was just curious kind of what your plans are for making it work both for them and for you.
Well, I don't want to go into terms of monetization or anything like that just yet, because we haven't learned all out what we're going to do. But to use a kind of Disney paradigm or theme paradigm, when you go to Disney, you pay at the door and then the rides are free, right? So outside of kind of other monetization features for ourselves, what a server does, but we have to keep an eye on that. We have a certain amount of ethical sort of behavior that we expect from anybody who's going to start engaging with the Hytale community themselves in their own terms. So we've already started talking to people about this and what they want to do and what they achieve. It's a little bit early yet, but we're open to anybody wanting to create anything, basically, within reason.
Well, something we showed in one of the slides, and that slide was from a blog post we did in January, I think, about how our server system works. We showed a little bit of the server, like a UI concept for the server browser. Mm-hmm. That will be a way for server creators to be listed in Hytale within the game itself. Yeah.
Sorry, so when you actually load up Hytale, you'll have the three options at the top of the screen, basically. You'll have the adventure game, and then you'll have mini games, and you'll have servers, right? So when you click on that servers, you're going to see our server, obviously, but you're going to see anybody else who has a server created. And of course, there'll be ways for people to connect to other people's servers using an IP address or things like that. So,
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before, that we have ideas for like a way for server operators to declare the kinds of servers they're operating, what kinds of services they're offering, what kind of mini games and so on.
Yeah,
that they're
or
providing.
talking about white, grey, black.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's still a wee bit.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and-
all
and-
this stuff is-
and all this kind of stuff should be taken with a grain of salt. But we have this notion of a white server, a grey server, and a black server. White servers are obeying the rules, it's all clean, it's all very wholesome. Grey servers are kind of, I wouldn't say pay to win or anything like that there, but and then black servers just don't care about the rules. And those sorts of servers don't get listed, so
Great.
things like that.
Yeah, thanks. Hi.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello. With the mini games, will there be different? Like, can other people make mini games apart from you guys?
That is the whole point of everything that we're doing. We want somebody else to make a Hypixel server, if you know what I mean. The same way Hypixel created a server around Minecraft, we want somebody else to create their own server and their own experiences around Hytale. Okay. We want to see that happen again, only somebody else do it this time. We'll start off by the creation of a server. And the thing I have to say about these 3 pillars, we're creating an adventure game because we want to create an adventure game, because we love that sort of thing. We love Zelda, we love Skyrim, we love World of Warcraft, all these kind of adventure, heavy, fantasy, kind of thematically driven things. And that's part of who we are, it's part of our DNA, but the big part of our experience is in the creation of mini games. And what we're doing, and why we're doing all this, isn't just to do that and make money off it and all that kind of, it's an example of how to do things, right? So the adventure game, our players are going to be able to pick that apart. They're going to be able to open up anything you see in the game, you can edit in the game, right? And we want them to learn how to do that and then do it themselves. Why have 60 developers when you can have 6,000, 60,000, just and foster that sort of community? As it's been what we have been about since day one.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else for any more? Don't be shy. Great.
I also have a question.
Okay.
While you're thinking, we do have a couple more minutes for questions. If anyone's got one last one, okay.
Oh.
There we go.
I will hold my question.
Hello,
Okay.
sir.
Hello.
Hi. So this is a question that people have been talking about ever since the trailer.
Here
has
it
been
comes.
announced.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Do you guys think, like, with the release of Hytale, Minecraft is going to be crushed?
Yeah, I think
No.
no is the answer to it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Minecraft is huge. Minecraft is gargantuan. Covers many platforms and has many guys. But it's an awesome game. It's an awesome game. And it's a generational game. It's a game that gets passed from brother to sister, down to nephews and nieces. It's been going for so long. And I don't think, if Hytale has a percentage, like a small percentage of the success of Minecraft, then our job's golden, It's never been our intent to crush Minecraft. The guys from Mojang have actually been very supportive. I actually met a few of them in San Francisco a while ago, and they were going, "That's awesome, we can't wait to see what you do." But they have a development roadmap as well, so I'd be excited to see how how these things kind of sit in parallel, and will one feed into the other and vice versa. But I don't think I want to live in a world where you can't have both. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, no,
for
thanks.
that. The
Yeah.
hardest question we got so far.
Thank you.
Well, my question's going to be extremely frivolous after that. What is your favourite Hytale animal apart from the pigeon?
Seems like a rather loaded question, Catherine. It is the pigeon, and I won't shift
It
on
could
that.
only be the pigeon. It could only be the pigeon. Fair enough. Well, just in case, as I say, we've got like maybe 1 or 2 minutes for questions, but if no one else has got any more questions,
Go on.
Go on.
then I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yes, lad.
Sean, you didn't say what your favourite Hytale animal was.
I
You-
can't
you
actually
expect-
say it because it hasn't been seen yet.
Okay.
But it's awesome.
Mystery
I think
creature.
the existing one, Turbo Chicken.
Yeah,
Turbo Chicken is the most awesome thing and a legend, apparently.
indeed. Yeah, if you pay attention during the trailer, there is a little secret URL that will take you somewhere on our website where you can see
Turbo
Sean-
Chicken.
Turbo Chicken. Hi.
So I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will Hytale come out on only the PC or other consoles as well?
We are focused solely with a laser-like focus on PC and Mac at the minute. However, we will most likely be pursuing that avenue sooner rather than later, but we don't know yet. Our team has been built from the ground up as PC developers, so we don't actually have the internal experience to bring out the console. That does not take it off the table, however.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I think we've probably run out of time now. Thank you, Chris and Sean, for taking us through the story of Hytale. Please, everyone, give them a round of applause. And thank you again for joining us today. Please do come back at 4 o'clock for Oxventure, both in here in the theatre and also on Twitch. Thank you also for those of you who are joining us on Twitch today for listening in. And yeah, I hope everyone has a very good rest of EGX Rezzed. And thank you again for coming.
Thanks,
Thank
Kevin.
you.
Cheers, guys.